This just revealed a lot about the Avalanche as Colorado just got their first home win of the season and are undefeated after 2 games very early in this year's NHL season. But last night's win did not come easy. A few issues within the lineup were revealed and a few concerns for head coach Jared Bednar as well. And we're going to dive into everything surrounding this game last night and specifically why one facet of the game for the Avs last night was essentially the sole reason that they were able to win the game. Hello, everybody. Welcome into Avalanche Digest. My name is Mark Robinson. Happy to be here with you, breaking down all things Colorado Avalanche hockey. Even though it wasn't pretty, great that the guys were able to get a win last night, feeling great on this lovely Friday. I know it's only 2 games in the season, but Avs are undefeated, and we'll take what we can get. I mean, last year we went 0-5 to start the year. That was, definitely rough. So the fact that we're able to scrape out some wins early on, even though one of them wasn't necessarily a very dominant, pretty win, you might say, we're feeling good. And Avs Faithful is buzzing here on this lovely Friday morning. Before we dive into all of the things we're going to talk about today on Avalanche Digest, I want to make sure to remind you guys to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I've said it once and I'll say it again. This is the perfect time to subscribe to Avalanche Digest. We are right at the beginning of the NHL season. Things are picking up, things are ramping up, and we're getting all of the necessary details for you in the world of Colorado Avalanche hockey right here. So if you're part of that 73%, make sure that you change that right now, hit that subscribe button, and join the Avalanche Digest family. All right, let's dive into this breakdown. So the Avs opened up their home season last night in Ball Arena. First off, got to say, the energy in that building from sitting on my couch watching from my TV standpoint, I wasn't lucky enough to be in the building as I don't live in Colorado full time right now. But from watching on TV, the energy in that building for the introductions, for just getting everybody jazzed up and ready to go for Avs hockey being back seemed electric. Avs Faithful and everybody in Denver that's an Avs fan is ready to go for the 2025-26 season. And I know it might sound corny, but something just feels different about this group and their motivation and what they know they're capable of accomplishing this season. So super excited about that. Final score from last night, 2-1 in favor of the Avalanche. A Ross Colton goal early on and a Nathan MacKinnon power play goal in the third period. Utah got a power play goal just 3 seconds into one of their power plays in the second period to tie the game up in the second. But nevertheless, the Avs able to get the win regardless of some struggles, you might say. And Ross Colton had something to say about those struggles in an interview after last night's game. The second period, kind of unacceptable. The Avs went 12 minutes into the second period without tallying a single shot on goal, and they would get just 4 shots on goal during the entirety of the second period. After that first Ross Colton goal, it was Jack Drury and Victor Olofsson, that third line, that connected on a gorgeous, disgusting tic-tac-toe right in the middle. Ross Colton was screaming for that puck right up in the center toward the goal. And I mean, thank God that Olofsson found him on the pass because he had a 100% straight shot at the goal and absolutely blistered it past the goalie and got that first goal. But after that goal, I was kind of suspecting that the Avs were going to start rolling and just essentially pumping Utah full of lead, especially because they had a game behind them. They were in front of a home crowd. They were kind of buzzed up and ready to go. It felt like their energy was picking up right when they scored that goal. But then that was when things kind of took a turn and turned away. Utah ended up outshooting Colorado 33-27 last night. Colorado had just one more hit than Utah, so the physicality on both sides was pretty equal. But it's that second period that really sticks out to me. And I know that head coach Jared Bednar was not very happy with how his team played, not just in the second period, but in the majority of the game. They were a little bit slow. They didn't have the energy. They didn't have the jazz that the Utah Mammoth had, so to say. And that was kind of the perception that Bednar, as well as some of the other guys in the locker room, had. Like I said, it's that second period that really stuck out to me as something that could be an issue for the Avs looking forward. You have to be motivated and you have to find the energy to play 60 minutes of hockey. And, they didn't have that in the second period, and Utah took advantage of it. And Utah was getting a ton of turnovers in the neutral zone. They were generating a ton of offensive chances in their own zone, doing really well on the forecheck as well. Despite only being able to score 1 goal on the power play, they were getting a lot of scoring opportunities. They were taking advantage of the laziness, so to say, that Colorado was showing during that second period. But Nevertheless, the Avs were able to get the win last night, 2-1 the final score. And there's one primary reason that not just I think is the only reason the Avs were able to win, but essentially everybody that was in that press conference with Jared Bednar and in the media and in the game as well. Avalanche head coach Jared Bednar decided to speak on Scott Wedgewood's performance against the Mammoth last night. We don't win without him tonight. The more specifics of his press conference, he was talking about how there's some nights where the energy isn't there, the motivation isn't there, and those are the nights where, even though it's not what Jared Bednar wants, you kind of have to fall back on your goalie, and that's exactly what they had to do. They had to rely on Scott Wedgewood to make a ton of clutch saves to keep them in the game and to keep them with a chance of taking the lead when they would then go to take the lead with the Nathan MacKinnon power play goal, and then they held on to it with Scott Wedgewood and his pure dominance throughout the game. Taking a look at his stats from the game last night, he had one goal against average, 32 saves on 33 shot attempts, a .970 save percentage. And I mean, if you were watching the game or if you saw some of the highlights, some of these were literally highlight reel saves, like flushing the pad all the way out to the far side, moving really well across the crease and just putting everything away from the net and making some remarkable saves and doing some remarkable job in between the pipes. And I mean, he was interviewed in the locker room after the game, kind of asking about his performance and, you know, how he's feeling about having to take on this quote unquote starter role, considering the fact that Mackenzie Blackwood is still recovering from an injury. And Scott Wedgewood is a class act. I mean, he's such a great guy. He's extremely humble. He was just talking about how, you know, he does a lot of prep and he tries to be the best player that he can. And everything that he does is all just what he sets as a goal. He's never trying to, like, you know, be this crazy, insane, like, not humble goaltender who knows he's the best and knows that he's maybe potential of being a starter. And people are even asking him too, do you see yourself, you know, potentially taking on more of a sharing a starter role? And of course, super humble about that answer. Just talked about how, you know, he's there to, you know, help Mackenzie Blackwood be healthy. Mackenzie Blackwood's there to help him be healthy, and they're just bouncing off each other and that they work really well together as a tandem. And I mean, this also just goes to circle around the conversation that our goalie tandem is one of the most solid aspects of our game coming into the season, which was the exact opposite of last season. That's essentially the sole reason that the Avs went 0-5 to start the year. Alexander Georgiev, I think both of these games against both LA and Utah, I think we would have lost because of that goaltending issue. So props to the management, Chris MacFarland and Joe Sakic, for getting a really dialed goalie tandem, and for Jared Bednar, as well as our coaching staff, for getting that dialed in as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about the power play from last night as well. Something else that's sticking out to me as what could potentially be an issue, so to say, for the Avs. So this is the first power play unit. Leckie on the left, Nelson in the middle, Necas on the right, and then MacKinnon and Makar at the top. It's a 4 forward, 1 defenseman power play. Some teams run a 5 forward power play unit. Utah was doing that last night, but obviously you've got Cale Makar, who's not only an elite defenseman and does really well on the checking, but can score goals like no other in this league. So really solid power play just from looking at the individuals of these guys, but you know, only get 1 power play goal last night, only get 1 power play goal against the LA Kings. It hasn't quite clicked yet. And I think that people are thinking and talking about how this is potentially concerning for Colorado looking into the future because, you know, our 5-on-5 hockey hasn't been stellar either. It's the power play where we really need to be taking advantage of the opportunity to score goals on the man advantage. But I think that Jared Bednar in his press conference put it really accurately in terms of what's going on here and how it's going to start kind of gelling together, if you will. He actually used that exact word, how the power play is going to start gelling together over these next few games. So there's 2 aspects of it that are notable. One of them is we have a brand new power play coach in Dave Haxtell, the former coach of the Seattle Kraken. This is his first year with the Colorado Avalanche. He was hired in the offseason after a previous assistant coach and power play coach was removed from the Avalanche organization. So everything that he's preaching and everything that he's teaching to these guys and everything that he's coaching as far as being efficient and finding scoring opportunities on the power play go, it hasn't quite clicked yet in the eyes of Jared Bednar. And he said he's not concerned about it at all. It just takes time to get those things to mesh together and get those things to work and figure out. And then the other aspect that isn't as notable, but it's something that is definitely worth touching on because he's not on the first power play unit, but he's getting out there and getting reps during the power play, is Gabe Landeskog. He's still getting back into his groove in all facets of his game. Keep in mind, this was his first home game, regular season home game in over 1,000 games in over 1,000 days and 3 years. So essentially, he is still trying to find his footing and he's still trying to find his dominance within the league. And, in terms of thinking about the power play, that is a notable aspect about it as well. So power play is maybe needing to pick it up a little bit, but nevertheless, hopefully those struggles, we can see everything kind of start to gel together and we can see the players really start to mesh with the coaching that Hackstall is providing and how they're approaching figuring out this power play. So the biggest conversation topic now looking forward is the next game that the Avs have. I mean, LA Kings, they're a favorite to be, top 5, top 10 team in the West. They're going to be pretty solid. The night after they lost 4-1 to the Avs, things started to click for them as they put up a really strong fight against the Vegas Golden Knights, ended up beating them in a shootout. And then now, after barely getting away with a win, and it was a goaltending, defensively heavy win for the Avs against the Mammoth, a team that I think they should have beat a lot more comfortably. They've got the Stars this weekend, and that's going to be, I think, the biggest test of the year for the Avs so far. I mean, you look at the Stars and what they were able to do against the Winnipeg Jets last night in their first game of the season. They had a lot of consistent scoring, and they showed a lot of depth up and down in their lines. The Stars are a really deep team. They have a lot of really strong forward strength up and down their lineup. They've got Miro Heiskanen on defense, and of course, they've got Mikko Rantanen, who is leading the team in multiple stats now, which we'll dive into that in just a second here. But this is going to be the biggest test of all. And so the Avs need to take all of the struggles that they've had, whether it be generating offensive struggles, finding motivation, finding energy, figuring out the power play and all that stuff. And they need to put that into what I think is going to be the most difficult game of the year for Colorado. Look at the scoring leaders for Colorado right now. Pretty interesting considering the fact that each person in points and goals is who was included in this blockbuster trade that we had happen last year. Mikko Rantanen leading the team in points. He's got 3 points with 1 goal and 2 assists. And in goals with 1 goal, Marty Necas, essentially the same line. He's got 3 points, 2 goals, and 1 assist. And Necas has 2 goals, 1 power play goal, and 3 shots. And then obviously Cale Makar with 3 assists. He's having a dominant start as well, but definitely something to consider. These are going to be 2 guys that we've got our eyes on. Mikko Rantanen coming back to Colorado. It's becoming less and less of a storyline because he's already been back for a few times. They've already beaten us in the playoffs and all that stuff, but still notable when he's around and when he's coming back because he's arguably their best player. And so we have to keep an eye on him and what he's able to do production wise, considering he got off to a hot start against the Winnipeg Jets last night. All right, to close things out on a little bit of a fun note, this was dropped by the Colorado Avalanche this morning. A new look for practice today. There is a ton of hype around the Avs dropping their 30th anniversary Quebec Nordiques jersey. I think this is one of the coolest logos in hockey, and I love the fact that they are getting ready to drop this jersey for the 2025-26 season. I personally own the reverse retro Quebec Nordiques jersey, the one that's red and white. This one I think is going to be blue, and I think it's going to be beautiful. Here's a sneak peek look at what it's potentially going to look like. I mean, I don't know if this is anything close to what we're getting ourselves into as far as this 30th anniversary jersey goes. That is a gorgeous setup right there. The blue, the full blue kit, the logo on the front. I cannot wait for these jerseys to be revealed. And clearly they're teasing it considering this is their look for practice today. So very exciting stuff that we're going to be seeing this jersey drop very soon. I don't know about you guys, but a small little part of me was thinking the Avs were going to pull an LA Kings and also Pittsburgh Penguins. Both of those teams warmed up in their regular home jerseys. And then for their home introductions, they came out in brand new jerseys that nobody knew about. It was completely a surprise. Kings were pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie. Those silver helmets were cool. I personally was not a fan of Pittsburgh's. I thought they looked like a bunch of bottles of mustard skating around the ice in that game. But that didn't happen. But the Avs are still teasing that jersey drop. And I'm very excited to see when those drop, how they're going to mix them into their jersey schedule this year. And I think it's going to be awesome. So we've got the Stars this weekend. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned to Avalanche Digest as we'll have you covered all throughout that game, giving you pregame and postgame updates and analysis. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate your support. Go Avalanche and enjoy the rest of your Friday.